Welcome to the One More Boom podcast, where we are a different breed. This is more than just a space for oilfield and pipeline professionals. It's a community built for those who refuse to settle for the ordinary. You're here because you're ambitious, resilient, and driven to excel. At One More Boom, we're both more than just work. We're both thriving under pressure, breaking new ground, and pushing limits. This is your place to connect, learn, and grow with others who live for the challenge. You're not average, you're a different breed. Welcome to the One More Boom community.
Here we are, another episode of the One Boom podcast, and we're doing it virtual today because my man Shawn Miller is over in Dubai.
Morning, kids. It's at 3:30 a.m.
See, I put a post out this morning on being dedicated and ways to win, and this is definitely one way to win by waking up at 3:30 a.m. You've been up a little bit earlier than this, but here we are putting in the work to get this episode out to you guys while Shawn's over in Dubai.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, man. I really I go to bed at 8, get up at 4, and hit the gym before I get going. So I mean, 3 o'clock's not too much of a stretch for me to get up and bang this up.
That's good, and still hit the gym. So yeah, it's all dedicated. And today we kind of want to touch on pieces of that for guys to win in this economy and where we're at, especially in Alberta and Western Canada with the oil field and pipeline right now, with it being slower. Yeah, we'd kind of want to touch on things like you moving from supervision or from the floor on the rigs to moving up into supervision. And then myself, how I've moved forward a little bit from welding to inspection to construction management and now officer in a couple companies. So it's pretty relevant.
Yeah, man, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's dig into that. Can you tell me a little bit about how you, like, we know your story, right? Because we went through that a couple podcasts ago. But can we talk about, did you take some courses, Nick? Like, how did you progress through that? Was it, I know it's like a natural thing and you kind of come with knowledge, but is there actual courses that you had to take, or was that something that just kind of came to you because of your experience?
Yeah, well, back in the day, so that was 2012 when I made that transition from welding, and I had my resume in for a year with an inspection company. And back then, all you needed to be a competent person was a background in what you were doing in pipeline to move up into inspection. And things have changed drastically now where, yeah, your API 1169, I believe it's your 11, I might have butchered that for facilities to inspect on pipeline. But back in the day, it was literally just, you needed field experience, which I believe in wholeheartedly.
I think that's so funny, man. Well, it's not funny, I guess. It's like the progression of things. I mean, like, being on a rig now is a trade. Back in the day, you just showed up. Now you have to have so many hours for this, so many hours for that, so many hours for this, and the schooling and stuff, and just to be able to say that you can do the job is quite a bit different. I mean, it's not just oil field; it's everything now. So, did you have to take any of those courses, or was it literally just like, you've been doing this for 10 years? Come on in, let's get this done.
It's 100% what it was for us years ago. And nowadays it's going the other way where it's all about your certifications and, it's almost 100% about your certifications and not so much your experience, which is a little bit scary in my books. I think a combination of both is 100%, relevant and needed, but it's going the other way where, yeah, as long as you got this ticket, which anyone can sign off in your hours, and if they like you and they want you to take those, yeah, they can push you forward. So yeah, there's some things that I think are going to be tweaked over the next little while here that I hope are tweaked. But back in the day, man, yeah, I wanted to be an inspector and I wanted to move forward. So I just put my application in, and it was out of default. I ended up in the Northwest Territories inspecting because no one else wanted to go up there. So that's how I got my breakout in that area.
Man, it reminds me of this meme, man, and I've seen it a million times. And I was a safety hand, like a legit safety guy for Synovus. So it's this meme, and I think about it all the time, man. It was one of those things that a lot of us safety guys talked about. It's like, it's a picture of a safety person, and then on top of it says, like, I don't know what you're doing, but my book says it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like that.
Oh yeah. You need to, especially on the safety now. Yeah, when you get guys that come out and they just pass the test and they're going out there, man, safety people get used and abused as it is, but yeah, when the hands can tell and they can literally smell it on you, that's where you came from. There's a good chance that they're not going to listen to you.
With good reason, man. I mean, like it's legit, right? Like if you just go to school and you get your books and it's this isn't right because my book says it isn't right. That's some nonsense, man. There's got to be some give and take.
No, definitely. So that's where, we really wanted to touch on that today, where things have changed a lot in both of our areas to be able to move up. And while it's slow, now's the time to, if you want to win during this next boom, and it's going to happen. It's all cyclical. It's going to happen, whether it's this year, next year, God forbid the following year, it's going to happen again. And to set yourself up, what are types of things that you see, especially in your field, that guys can start doing now to be able to make it into those next progression and those other positions that they'd like to go to?
Well, man, LinkedIn, I know like LinkedIn, a lot of people use it for a lot of different things, but LinkedIn has a phenomenal catalog of courses that you can get into. Obviously, I don't know so much on the pipeline side. More on the other side of things, there's piles of courses. I mean, even if it's not something that we talked a little bit about this before, but an aptitude test, like what fills your cup? What does that stuff? So you don't only have to take these courses that are related just to your industry, man. There's Code Academy is a really, really good one. If you want to mess around with some stuff on the computer, if that's your jam, there's piles and piles and piles of courses, especially on LinkedIn, and we talked about this, to progress your career.
Yeah. And I love that you bring up the aptitude test, because so many guys, like, they get stuck in this, whether it's a laborer for 20 years or what have you, you get stuck in this position, you get blocked into this position, and that's what people see you as. And the way that you move, in my mind, the way that you see yourself progressing is taking the time out of your own, whether that's spending money on courses, whether it's taking those free ones on LinkedIn, which are recognized by companies, where you can then take that and you can post it right onto LinkedIn. You can post it onto your resume. People will see that and be able to, and when they read through that, when you're job searching, it's a huge benefit to you, not only in your own position, but if you want to do something else, you might not know. That's why the aptitude test is so huge, because you might think that that's all you're meant for. But once you start taking things like that, it opens up your thinking and opens up your brain to seeing other opportunities that maybe you want to go down.
Absolutely, man. I mean, once you start digging into that stuff, I think it opens your mind a little bit, right? You're like, oh man, I really like this stuff, or whatever version of that happens, right? Code Academy, I took some coding courses just so I can familiarize myself with coding, because we have coders, obviously we have software engineers working for us and stuff. So when they're talking to me, I wanted to know kind of what they were talking about, right? So I mean, there's piles and piles of free courses that you can go through, and just to we're talking about Code Academy, but there's piles on LinkedIn as well. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is, like, there's lots of coding stuff, there's lots of software stuff, there's lots of, man, if you can think about it, it's on there, and it's all free and it's all relative. So when you are, if this one more boom is not your jam anymore after you take an aptitude test, the avenues are open, and there's a lot of free resources out there.
Yeah. We call it one more boom because, well, we're in the oil field and pipeline, and we love that. But Shawn, and I want to touch on that. When you say Coding Academy, when did you decide that, hey, I should start investing into software and start owning software companies? Because I think that's really interesting for people to see, where you come from the drilling rig side, moved up, and then safety hand and supervisor on the completion side. And how does that tie into software and coding and this and that? Because I find that fascinating.
It's super cool, man. I had an opportunity, and I can't even, you're so good with dates, Nick. And I'm like, how was that back in 2000? You know what I mean? Like, it must have been like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Maybe I had an opportunity to invest in a software company. It was a safety management software company that was built because an accident happened on a rig and some guys died, and it wasn't cool. So that's kind of where it all started for me. And then how it progressed is, we would hire some sales guys, but they didn't know nothing about safety. So I would come in on my days off. You spend a month over here, overseas, and then come home. I would spend my days off teaching those guys about safety and how to sell it and how to provide value to the customers that we were trying to get in. So
Very
how that kind of
interesting.
yeah, and then I mean, like obviously, once you start getting into that stuff, man, your mind just keeps going. It's like I got this really good idea,
Yeah.
and then you kind of you go through the motions of it, and that's a cool, super cool process. It's actually one of my favorite processes, man, is taking an idea and actually taking it to who you think your customer base is, and actually seeing if it's something that they
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I'm glad that worked out on your ventures there, because a lot of guys will spend their time and develop a product and they don't do that market research on the front end to see if it's actually something that people want. And that's why a lot of software companies, I've tried to help a couple here the last year here, and I don't know, like it's a great product and I love it, but it doesn't seem that the market really wants it. So it doesn't have to be on the software side. I got other clients that either want to come in on the fractional like marketing role for myself and other things, and they've developed a product. They found they're selling it, and now they want to make it better. So on that, yeah, it's finding a niche that you're in, and you can create businesses out of that. So it doesn't have to be just you doing the work. You can take your knowledge that you have in the field, and now you can find a solution to make something better. And that's what I'm finding. Guys they're coming with wrenches, they're coming with welding tools that they want to help sell and market. It's very interesting, new ways of coating like pipe and culverts and that sort of thing. And it's very interesting. So you can take your knowledge and you can see how things can be better, and you can develop a whole business around it. I know you got a safety company that you're involved in and stuff like that. So you love safety. You really want, like, you love people being safe while they're out in the field, but there's ways to monetize this stuff as well. And eventually you can get out of the field.
Yeah, I think it's really important, man, to take that one thing that you're very interested in or passionate about, whether it's rigs, whether it's pipeline, whether it's completions, whatever it is. I think it's really important, those specifically, because you know them, and then make them better. And the market research, man, is super important. I think we spent, man, it was like 4 months doing market research. I think I interviewed like 250 different companies. Just to see if this was something that our last venture anyways, that was something that they were interested in before we even started building a product.
Wow. No, it's very cool. So, yeah, and where the cool part is, while you're working in the field, you have access to project managers, you got access to foremen, you got access to different companies, and you can put feelers out. I think guys, a lot of times, especially in construction, they're afraid to bring those ideas out until they've launched, because they think someone's going to steal it. But here's the thing. If you can move faster than the other person, you're going to win.
There's this huge movement now with it's called Build in Public. So you can hashtag Build in Public if you want to take a look. And it's all about companies that are building their product in public. So like every single move they make, I mean, you want to keep the goods to yourself at the back end, but realistically, like all the moves that you're making, everybody is putting them out on LinkedIn, they're on social media, because there's this huge, everybody wants to learn, right? And watching that journey is super cool, man. And we've done that with our last company. We built in public. Every single move we've made, it's all on the internet. So if y'all want to build an AI company for businesses, got you a framework.
No, definitely. And there's guys like Alex Hermosi and others that are taking that, and he says publicly, and that's part of his shtick, is, wouldn't it have been cool if you had seen Jeff Bezos from the ground up building Amazon, if you had seen Warren Buffett building Berkshire Hathaway from the ground up, and seeing the moves that they made, because they are regular people who had an idea and they've gone. And it's really interesting where you're able to, sorry, someone was just banging on the door. It's crazy. So they have an idea in their head, and guys like Elon Musk, where they built multi-billion-dollar companies from a warehouse, literally.
Man, I think it was so cool that you brought up Warren Buffett, because he says one of the things that you need to do is like learn about one or two things and then focus on those things. So that's basically what we're saying, is if you take an aptitude test or something that you're super interested in, and you focus on that one thing and you know of a way to make it better or provide value in some way, focus on that and start building, man. And I mean, the reason we're building this community and doing these podcasts is to help guys do that stuff. So at any time, obviously, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, like reach out to us. You got a pile of resources just right here, and we'll help guide you along the way, man, for sure.
Yeah, and it's taking the lessons learned. I commented on somebody else's post this morning. It's about cultivating people and collecting people. So you don't need to know everything because somebody has already done it, most likely what you want to do, and you can learn from them their 10,000 hours to be able to take that and make it your own. But the more, it's really cool, the more people you collect around you that are thinking bigger than you, that are doing bigger things than you, ultimately you're going to gravitate and move up to that level because for the pure fact that you're surrounded by them. I always go back to if you're hanging around a pizza shop and pizza owners, eventually you're going to own a pizza shop and have a pizza shop of your own because that's what you hear and that's the only thing that they're talking about. That's the only thing that you're consuming. But it's funny, I did have a financial client back in the day that did have a pizza shop, so it's kind of random, but it's so cool. But yeah, and I'll go back a little bit on that journey where when I was making my transition out, I gravitated to the financial industry because I learned about a tax sheltering idea through whole life insurance. And I was like, man, more people need to learn about this. So, okay, instead of just teaching people, let's help them get set up with things too. So I had to get licensed, get all the things to be able to go do that. I've let that license go now, and I've realized that wasn't my path. But I learned through that, I learned marketing, I learned social media branding, I learned a whole bunch of things that I didn't know before. Like we touched on, I was a welder, man. I was in the dirt, I was in the mud, I was doing all that. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm a financial planner type dude. What the hell is this? Right. But through that process, I learned all those skills. And much like yourself, when you decided to move on with your other companies, like you brought in the people that had those skills to run those companies. You didn't want to run a trucking company. You didn't want to run a safety apparel company, I'm assuming, like when you first started.
Absolutely. I mean, like, yes and no. I mean, the safety apparel company was like it went really well with the safety management company, right? Because we always get questions like, hey, can we get this? Do you know how to get this? And just kind of start providing those sort of stuff. I think someone wants to see Nick. Yeah, man. The cool part is like, if you don't know all those things, you can bring them in. And I like when you mentioned the fractional stuff, it's a real good, easy way to save a little bit of money. I mean, bringing on a full-time marketing company or financial company or CEO or COO or whatever it is that you want to try and bring on to help you in the company, shit costs a lot of money, man. But when you bring on fractional people, they spend 8 hours a day or 8 hours a week, helping you grow your business. It's a real good, easy way to save money. But I mean, you don't have to give them up part of the company. Most of the time, what we've done in the past is, the software engineers, stuff like that, especially starting out, is like give them a small percentage of the company with a wage, of course, with a little smaller wage than they used to. Software engineers are expensive, man. Sorry. So, you give them a little bit of the company and then you give them a little smaller wage. So it's a little better way to do things. I know lots of guys who've done that. So that's another cool way to do it. So once you come up with an idea that you figure out that you're going to get this done, you do a little bit of market research and you can do all that stuff yourself, man. And market research is real easy to do because like you just have to identify who your customer base is and then just talk to them. And then, is this something you're interested in? Like, I'm going to do this. Like, would that be something you want to buy?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And most companies, even if you're doing $1 million, $3 million a year, having a full-time CFO and CEO, like you don't need that. Like you know how to do your business. You just need somebody that's helping to guide that. And that's where those fractional services can really come in. So it's really interesting. So guys that are starting out now, and that's what we're offering, some services like that. And it's like, hey, like, what is your biggest problem? Because maybe they do got someone that can run the company, they can manage the company, but it's just a little guidance here to be able to move forward, especially when they got a product that they want to start selling. Yeah, man, go sell. And yeah, it's really interesting what guys are doing now. But what I'm finding is they're, especially in the winter season here, one of my clients, he's working 14 hours a day right now until Christmas. So to get him to do anything, like even get us some information to be able so that we can even give a proposal to help move their company forward, it's really difficult. So if you start stacking that timeline up where, okay, now we're potentially another 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, what if you just take your little bit of time that you do have and then get that information over to us or somebody that's going to help you with that. Well, now you're 2 to 3 months ahead of time. And now that company can, or that whoever that service is that you gave, whether that's marketing and all that, now you can start pushing your product that you have in your head out into the marketplace.
Well, yeah, I think one of the cool things that you're talking about there is like looking 2 to 3 months ahead. Lots of guys don't do that, man. I think it's so important to, once we kind of get past the developing and the market research and stuff, it's like, okay, where are we at in 6 months? And you pick a 6 month mark and you work backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't have the money to hire a fractional CFO or whatever. So and we'll get back into this, there's lots of free courses. I mean, Canva, for instance, like YouTube is your best friend, man. And there's lots of courses up there for Canva. And for those who don't know, Canva is like, actually, Nick, you're real good with Canva, aren't you?
I'm pretty decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. And I'll expand on that. Like even our marketing team that we got behind us, they sent me over one of our clients' proposal, or he's going to start running lunch and learns, and eventually they'll be recorded and sent out in a video sales page. They built it on Canva. Like they're using the same tools that you described that you can use for, I think it's $12 a month or $15 a month. You can go in and there's the free version, but if you want some of the whizzier stuff and other assets, you can move forward there. So yeah, these companies that are doing, these services for you, you can, I love myself of knowing how the stuff works so that when you are going to start paying someone, you know how much time it is, because now you can see value in what they're bringing. Because I can play around in Canva, I can play around in a lot of these in Jasper AI, I can play around in a lot of this stuff, and I'm pretty good at it. But is your time worth spending in there when you're working 14 hours a day, or can you pay someone? So you can play around, you can dabble, you can understand how that product works or that software works, and you'll have a way better appreciation when someone gives you a bill when they're charging you to do that. Does that make sense?
100%, man. It brings me back to that I like memes, so it brings me back to that meme is like, don't pay me for my time, pay me for my knowledge, right? Because I spent the last 20 years or 10 years learning how to do this so I could do this. And you don't know how to do it, and I do. So pay me for that. You know what I mean? That goes for welding, that goes for rig hands, that goes for carpenters. I mean, it's worldwide.
Yeah, and more, and I'm glad you touched on that. It's pricing too. So yeah, especially on pipeline, you're getting paid by the hour, whether you're there or not. But if you have your own company, if it's your own welding company or what have you, machinists, and you're giving out a service, if you can get the client to charge them, this is how much it is, and that's what they pay you. And if you do it in half the time because you're way more efficient and proficient at that, then that's where you start to make money, because now you're not spending your time for money. You're still doing it, or you're having an employee do it, but it's because you either spent a lot of money to buy the machinery to make that easier. Now you have to pay that machine off. You'll be able to pay that off quicker and start making more money on the other side. But there's hacks that a lot of us aren't doing. And going back to what we chatted about before we got on here, is guys aren't wanting to spend money right now because they're scared, which is 100% fair. So learning these things on either free software that you can find, free courses that you can find, is huge. because you're still getting the skills, you're still learning something new, and it's not costing you anything. That that's huge in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, like if you can upskill yourself, right? It's just one more, and we just talked about this. It's like pay me for my knowledge. If you can upskill yourself consistently, and if you can do that for free, you're laughing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the theme today is absolutely spend the time on yourself. What you do have right now, if you're not working, is time. That's the only thing that you have. If you're not bringing in money in and you don't have a big nest egg to work with or a nest egg, you do have your time that you're able to now give out to other people. So you could even work for free for somebody, giving them a service so that you can gain that skill, even if they're not paying you. And I know that all too well. I've given out a lot of time here over the last year, 2 years to people to help them grow their businesses, grow their things. And it's worked out on the back end because now I own a little piece of their business. And those are types of things that you can do.
Yeah, I'm super glad you brought that up, man. I had this guy, I was going to build a shop in the back of my house there, and he was super busy as everyone is in BC building. And I was like, man, I don't know how to put windows in. Can I learn from you? And I said, essentially what happened is like, I just went to work with him. He bought me lunch every day. But what I gained in that time was knowledge on how to install windows in my own house. I mean, it saved me, I had to purchase the windows and do the work myself. But it was like, he's just like, well, lunch, he's like $20. I'm like, yeah, man. And I just learned how to install windows.
Yeah.
I've done that. I did that with a drywall guy. I did that with piles of people. And it was just like, if you don't have the skills to do it, approach someone that you know, get a contractor, get him to come in and be like, yo, how do I put up these doors or, whatever that looks like to you, and then offer. I mean, if you've got the time now, and I know you don't want to spend the money, and I can definitely see that. And if you want to spend the money, upskill yourself, and sometimes you got to do that shit for free. So if you can get a guy who installs windows and go to work for him and get him to buy you lunch every day, and you learn that skill, I mean, you just saved yourself a pound and you upskilled at the same time. So I don't know if that's really relevant in like, pipeline and rigs and stuff. That's not something that you can actually do. There's WCP and all that sort of stuff. So, but outside of that, I know a lot of guys even here that I work with overseas that go home and they do drywall, or they help guys with remodeling their homes or whatever. And they learn that knowledge the same way that I'm talking about. It's like during their days off or their downtime, they went to work for someone for free for
Yeah.
lunch money, baby.
Yeah, and it's like anything with trades related. Anything related, once you do that and you become proficient at it, you have that for life. You have that skill. It's like riding a bike where, yeah, if you don't know what you don't know, so that's where, going back to the aptitude tests and all this stuff, figure out where you're strong in, figure out where you want to go. And I'll tie it into something even bigger, is having a vision. And I chatted about this on another podcast here this morning. That's where a lot of us get stuck into, is the fact that you get too blocked into this is your role, this is what I'm doing, and 10, 15, 20 years go by and you don't move. So if you want to up level, have a vision where like when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, where you want to be, what you want to be wearing, where you want to be living, how you want to be living. And now, going back to how you start businesses, now you can reverse engineer what that looks like 10 years from now, 3 years from now, 1 year from now, 90 days from now. And now you got something tangible that you can chew on. And now those decisions become a lot easier. It's like, hey, I want to be doing this when I'm 80. Okay, you don't have those skills, you don't have that house, how are you going to get it? And if you keep going along the same line and the same road that you're on, is that actually going to get you there?
Absolutely. It's all about that reverse engineering, man. I think that's so important. And having that, I like the way you put it, that tangible thing to chew on. It's like, where am I going to be in a year? All right, how do I reverse engineer that? You make the steps, month one, month two, week two, whatever that looks like. And we talk about that in relationships too, man. It's like, you build goals together. You want to be that power couple. And you both work towards that same goal. So I really like the reverse engineering. I think it works wonders for people. It gives you something to look forward to, whether it's that big house on the lake or whatever that is. And you got that big house on the lake, a picture on your laptop or a picture on your fridge, or it's your screensaver on your phone, man. And then you just reverse engineer that backwards and you'll get there.
Yeah, because we can sit there and like I do like the fact of having those vision boards and all that, but you have, I'll say and you have to reverse engineer and put those things into action, because just staring at something, you're not making any changes to be able to make that work for you to be able to attain that. It's just not going to happen because you're staring at it on your screensaver. Like, we call it mental masturbation. It's like, wow, this is great. It's one of my favorite terms ever. Where I want, but you don't want to do the things to be able to make that happen. And so that's what we're really adamant about with One More Boom, with the community, with the podcast and everything, is to take that knowledge that you have and put it into action to be able to get the things that you actually want. And through this process, you might find that you don't actually want what you want, because it is a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work, Nick, and it's a lot of grit and it's a lot of determination to get those things. But I mean, the cool part is once you get past all that crappy part of waiting and doing all the things, it's super rewarding. What I found, lots of guys want to do it. It's the waiting, it's the work that you got to put in to get to where you want to be. Find that a lot of people fall off on the determination, the grit, just doing the same thing day in and day out, just grinding on one little thing. And I mean, you're a good example of that, Nick. I mean, you're a grinder. You got that good. So I mean, like, you've got that skill.
I'm a grinder, and I'll add to that with saying that I've learned to not have immediate gratification. So something called delayed gratification. And I get people in my circle, because I've taken the last year and I've really stepped back from anything that's safe at all. And I've been able to make that changes because I've downsized my life. Coming from a rig welder with the shiny trucks, the shiny bikes, all of like a very expensive lifestyle, to we've dialed it right down. And that's one of the reasons why I've been able to take those risks. But the people around you aren't going to understand that, especially when they see you at a little bit of a distance. Your parents might not get what you're doing. The people closest to you, if you got girlfriends, wives, that sort of thing, unless you have that, going back to the vision and explaining that in clarity, why you're doing what you're doing, it gets really scary when you're starting to make changes. And it's really scary to other people because they're used to, well, you need to go to work to get paid. Well, you can be very creative these days, especially online, to be able to get paid. And if you haven't been exposed to that, there's, man, so many people I see starting fitness accounts and they're teaching fitness because they're really fit, or MLM, love it or hate it. It's been around for like 50 years because it freaking works. Like, it works if you work it. And it sounds very cliche, but there is ways out there right now that you can make extra money while you're out doing what you're doing. But you have to be very clear to the people that are around you why you're doing that. And if you're not on the same page, they're going to push back.
100%, man. I've seen it time and time again where they're just like, "What are you doing?" Or you from a distance, it looks terrible, man. I mean, you're getting rid of houses, you're getting rid of vehicles, you're downsizing. Where I think that we're taught, we consume, right? Like, where's your Lululemon? Where's your Levi's? Whatever it is that whatever's on TikTok these days. So it's really important to be able to have that vision board or whatever that looks like to you and work backwards. I want to get back to like the leveling up part of it. There's so much information out there nowadays, and there's so many people that we talked a little bit about it last time. There's so many people that are out there that are willing to mentor for free. I mean, you talk to a guy from Dragon's Den, and all you do is got to reach out. You just ask, right? I mean, there's just a psychology book I read recently, and it talked about asking people to step in line in front of you. And I don't know what it's like for you, but when I'm in line, if someone butts in front of me, I'm like, hey, back of the bus. But if you were to come to me like, hey, I got 15 minutes. Can I, I only got one item, whatever that is. Can I get in there? Yeah. Just a matter of asking, right? So it's one of those weird, crazy things. We're built as humans to, I think for the most part, or most of us, to want to give back. So there's lots of that opportunity out there. I'm always willing to talk. Nick's always willing to talk and help and guide and all that sort of stuff. I don't think I'm much of a mentor, but I mean, whatever I got, you got. So if I can help you level up, and I can help you, if we can help you, get to that next level, if that's courses or free courses or knowledge, or I mean, I'll buy you lunch every day. You just come and work. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
No, and it's one of those things, man. You need to ask 1,000%, and it's where it's at. So where we want to go from here, I think is figure out where you want to go, reverse engineer it back, and start leveling up those skills. And there's tons of ways to do it. The podcast that I was on this morning, Dave Hermanson, super sweet guy with Support Pipelines, and support Dave, man, because he's out there, and he's always, and he says always, like, my phone's on, you can send me a message, I'll see what I can do. And don't always ask for something. I will say that. Don't always ask. Try to give back before you try taking. That would be the other thing that I'd like to say as well.
Yeah, providing value to people is like, we're all give and take, and there's that more psychology. I'll talk about this book a little bit more. It's like when you give something to someone, they automatically have this feeling of like, oh, I'm in a deficit, I need to give back, whatever that looks like. If it's knowledge, if it's whatever that looks like. So it's super cool. But yeah, let's get back to this. We're in a downtime, we're in a little bit of a downturn in Canada. I think it's super important, guys. If there's something you're interested in or you want to level up your game, this is the time. I know it feels like it's not the time, and you just want to get back to work, whether it's rigs or pipeline or whatever it is. If you're looking to level up, get out of that little funk that you're in, start taking some courses, figure out what you want to do, and then just hammer that shit out.
1,000%. No, this is really good stuff. So I think we'll end here today, and we'll let you get to the gym there and get you to work. And I can't wait to talk to you there next week.
Man, it's always a pleasure, Nick. I love this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's great. So play safe out there, and we'll talk to you guys all later.
That's it for today's episode of One More Boom Podcast. Remember, you're part of a community that doesn't settle for the status quo. Here, we push boundaries, support each other, and thrive under pressure. Whether you're out in the field or leveling up your career, we've got your back. Stay connected, stay driven, and keep embodying the grit of a different breed. Until next time, keep pushing forward. Together, we'll achieve more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of One More Boom.